Understood.
He's too busy talking.
9 o'clock, Derek.
No. Mark is traveling.
No, Mark's out of town.
Well, he's much of a fish person.
Ready?
Hello, sir.
Ready, Frank?
Yep, I'm ready.
Frank, ready? Good morning, everyone. It is August 2nd, 2022. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, nice to see people here joining us this morning, so welcome. First order of business are the minutes from 7:26. Is there any, I just have a slight correction under the Advisory Committee Advisory Board updates where it says, under my updates, I said that Great River Regional Library had increased youth presence in the St. Michael Library. It was just increased presence, I guess, it's not just youth, but more people utilization is probably the better word, increased utilization at St. Michael.
So with that, Madam Chair, with your modification, I'll make a motion to approve the 26 minutes.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Vetch, seconded by Commissioner Wetter. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, minutes are approved. Review and approval of the agenda. Anything that needs to be added or removed? All right. Look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right. Motion
second
made by
that.
Commissioner Ketchmark, seconded by Commissioner Vetch. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The agenda is approved. Consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like removed for further discussion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Vetch. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ketchmark. A half a hair ahead of you. All right. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? That passes. All right. The timed agenda, we move on to Mark Mattice. Is Mark here? And administration of proposed fire assessment concerns. So we have discussion requested by Albion Township.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members
Morning.
of the board. I guess that's under my name, so I was a little surprised to come up and talk. I had a call from Albion Township that was interested in talking about fire assessments. I know staff have had a couple meetings following fire assessments and our special assessment fees, and some notice has been put out to the township, but Albion Township requested some time to discuss that with you, so I will invite Bob up to from Albion Township to start that off.
All
Thank you.
right, welcome, Mr. Bob Newman.
Bob Newman, Albion Township. I brought my own personal, one of my tax statements along, just for you to see where the special assessment is put on the tax statement if you'd like to look at that. Otherwise, good morning, Commissioners. The issue is that Wright County wants to charge a fee to put this fire assessment on the tax statements. The the assessment has been only on the parcels that have buildings on them. So if you had a 40 acres of dirt, a farm field or whatever, that assessment didn't go on that. It just only went on the parcels that had buildings on them. And for decades, this fee has been waived. There has never been a charge for this fee to the township. Like Wright County, Albion Township, or the other townships that assess, it's a pass-through between taxpayer and the farm and the fire departments. Albion Township gets nothing out of it. It's just a pass-through. Wright County puts it on the tax statements, they collect the money comes to Albion Township, and Albion Township just forwards it right to the fire departments. So it's not like a road improvement project where it improves the road of Albion Township or the other townships. It's just, Albion Township gets nothing out of it. It's just, we're just handling the money. We're just a pass-through. When I reached out to my commissioner about this, I was in touch, that commissioner got me in touch with a Miss Meyer. I don't know if she's in charge or just
She's here.
the lucky person who got to deal with me. But anyway, she explained the fee. Basically, what I understood from her explanation is it's a new management staff, new policy. And then Ms. Meyer gave an example. She suggested that we levy out of the township funds to pay for the fire department's protection service. And her example was if you had two houses or if you had a house that was worth $200,000 and a farm that was worth, maybe $1 million, why wouldn't the farm that has greater value pay a higher amount than the house that has lesser value? And we discussed this at Albion Township Board, and we disagree with that. Like I had said before, it's only on the buildings. So if you had 40 acres of just a farm field, why would you pay fire protection on dirt? And we think that it's inequitable because whether you have a $100,000 house or $1 million house on a lake, why wouldn't you want the fire protection to be the same? You'd want them to bring the same equipment. You'd want them to get there as fast as you could, no matter whether you have a $100,000 house or $1 million house. So it doesn't, this charging the township thing just doesn't affect, it doesn't change anything. It makes it more unequitable rather than going to a levy system. Because if you have a lot of, at least in Albion Township, it's very agricultural. We have many $1 million farms, but the value of the buildings may not be any more than just a residential out in our township. And so, yet on a levy system, that farm would pay much, much more, and the house would pay less. And also, by having the assessment per building site, it also brings more of a sense of community, so that everyone who sees that fire truck says, in my case, it happens to be on this parcel $85. Well, $85 of my money went to help pay for that fire truck. Mm-hmm. And so I'm asking that, I understood that you have addressed the 23 assessment and have waived the fee for putting it on the tax statements for 23, but I'm asking you for it to waive it in the future.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, Commissioner Betts.
So first off, I agree with the ability of townships to decide whether they want to parcel assess their fire assessments or levy assess. I mean, every township's different, and how you choose to collect that is in your domain. I apologize if it was articulated that the county was recommending or suggesting or even pressuring you into levying assessment. That could be further from the truth. It maybe was communicated poorly. Really, this discussion is about the per parcel assessment fee, $2.15 that we charge if you choose to do a parcel assessment versus a levy assessment. The reason the fees exist is because it's much more labor intense to do a per parcel assessment than that of a levy assessment. And what we found in the past, there was some improprieties within the county's fee schedule as to we were charging the per parcel assessment to some entities and others, like yours, was not being charged at $2.15 per parcel. The scope of the fee to the impact of the townships was some of the townships were as little as $1,800 if they're doing for the $2.15 per parcel assessment. Some of them were upwards of $8,000 on that per parcel assessment. The county did issue a letter out saying that we will not be charging because of the late notice in past your annual meeting of March, that we will be not charging that per parcel assessment until 2024, giving you time at your annual meetings to either incorporate that $2.15 going forward if you choose to continue with parcel assessments, but we can have some further discussions about how that can be built in post this meeting. So we are granting, and we're not pressuring any of the townships to change their practice. We're giving ample amount of time to build that $2.15 into future assessments. And I think you would agree that you'd want us to charge that $2.15, because if we wouldn't charge you guys, we wouldn't be able to charge the lake improvement districts, the watershed districts, and the cities that levy for road projects, because a parcel assessment's a parcel assessment, whether it's for a road, whether it's for a lid, or whether it's for a fire assessment. It's just to basically be able to make those that use that labor, that time, pay for that service. So we don't want to have those that choose to not assess have to pay for that labor. It's more for an inequality factor.
And it has not been charged across the board, and that's what they kind of discovered, that some were being assessed and some were not. So this was kind of a cleanup thing, and I know it seemed like it came out of the blue, because all of a sudden you get this. And I don't know if Lindsay Meyer, if you want to explain a little more here.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ketchmark?
I see there's other people here. I don't know if they represent other townships or for sure, but do we want to get the complete side from the townships and then
Yeah, I mean,
she comes up one time, or I don't know what's, maybe there's others maybe that want to weigh in, but I'm just,
yeah, if
before I
anyone
weigh
else,
in.
Maple Lake or Corinna, did you want to add anything before Lindsay talks?
No, that was about the same thing as
Okay.
what we were gonna say.
Yep. Yeah, it happened to 4 of my found 5 townships, so one was not affected, so. Okay, Lindsay.
Good morning, Board, Madam Chair. The way you guys had summarized that was exactly what it was. We found that we were not treating all special assessments equitably, and I sought to make a correction there. It was decided that we would waive that for the current year and address it in the future years, so that there is the ability of the townships to address it appropriately within their levies or special assessments, time for them to do the analysis, figure out what is the best option in their particular scenario. I did not necessarily encourage in either direction. I provided the information in both the levy avenue as well as in the special assessment avenue, more or less giving them the option and the repercussions of either.
Madam
Do you
Chair.
want to have any questions from the townships? Do you have any questions specifically for Lindsay?
No, like on the Clearwater Watershed District. John, you got
John, can you come up to the mic?
Okay, on the Clearwater Watershed District, when they get assessed, that's on some of our property, where's that fee put into it? Who pays for it?
I cannot tell you for sure whether it is
See,
in the special assessment or whether it is in the general levy.
See, it's on your statement as a special assessment, but who pays for the,
The fee, it's probably
Yeah.
passed through that special assessment. That is one that is paying for our administrative fees.
okay?
So they've already been paying.
Correct.
In Madam Chair, and I think, and John and any of you in there, I think myself or even staff can meet, and I think we can build, if you guys would so choose, then I think a lot of you would, for the arguments that you made, would want to continue with parcel assessments and that $2.15. I think we can work some way that build it into the fees, so it's, instead of it being $85, it might be $87.50, or $87.15 or whatever it is. But let's have those discussions. We have time now that we kind of pushed it out for you, so you guys aren't trying to come up with $2,000 that wasn't budgeted prior to. So I hope, does that seem amicable to you, to all of you, that we can work through this and move forward?
I have a question.
Dwight, come up to the mic.
Hi, my name is Dwight Hammer, Albion Township. My nature topic is, this is for emergency services. Okay, Sheriff's Department, are we gonna start seeing a surcharge for Sheriff's Department as well? We don't see a fee for that yet. We don't pay a fee for it because it's part of the county services.
Madam Chair?
Good
So,
question.
well, no, but I understand the perspective on that, but we could use that same perspective to roads and with repaving of roads and developments, because that's an essential service. Anything that's usually a parcel assessed is an essential service, and the only reason we're delineating it is because some choose to levy those funds in the county and some choose not to, and it is a labor-intense process to go into it and actually delineate, okay, this one has a house on it, this one doesn't have a house on it, and to charge it out to the degree that you'd like to do it, and to break out whether it's $85 in this township and it's $65 in this. It's a lot of manual manipulation. And for that fact, we just want to quantify the staff time that's to it, because some townships and some cities choose not to. So those that drive the work pay for it. And that's why we're only charging what we need to quantify that time.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I just
that's
wanted,
what the fee is for. The
That's
actual
my question is-
processing time. Yeah.
emergency fees, or, because, I'm the lucky victim that had a sheriff's deputy come out and basically resuscitated me once upon a time. And, then the ambulance service came and so on and so forth. But this is why I question that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Ketchmark.
First, for the minute taker, do you need spelling from the three speakers? You're good, okay. Then I had a question, and thanks for everybody that came in today and can hear and discuss this firsthand with staff and the board. I had a question probably for Lindsay, but on the question of a home value, $200,000 versus $1 million, and if they should pay the same, my thought is if you have a 200,000 versus $1 million, it's gonna take more time, more staff, more water, maybe different equipment for the $1 million than it will for the 200,000. I can see a separation for a value or a size of a home. Size of a home, not necessarily a value. And we're seeing estimated market value changing some of these fees, what I had seen also, but Lindsay can maybe clarify that. But if a person doesn't add on to that house, it's still gonna take the same amount of water and equipment and people to put the fire out.
Madam Chair, but that isn't even within our purview. The discussion of whether they levy the funds or parcel assessment is a decision that the townships make themselves.
Correct.
So if they choose, they can manipulate it however they want. They could set it as, they could do they could do a levy assessment based on value set at X time, I believe, if they wanted to. They could flatten them off. I don't know. Maybe not. But at the end of the day, whether they choose to parcel assess or levy assess their fire fees or any fees that or anything that they want to, how they want to collect the funds for it, they can levy to fix a road in front of houses. They can parcel assess for fix a road in front of a house. It's just at their discretion how they want to collect the funds to do it. So to get down the rabbit hole of us to delineate whether one makes sense or not isn't our decision, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
If I can finish, on the matter of bare land versus building being charged, can you explain our part in bare land being charged and what the amount is versus a building, like it's been referenced here today?
If it were to be levied, it would be spread based on the market value of every single parcel, regardless of whether there is a home or it's bare land. If it is special assessed, the township has the ability to pick and choose which parcels they want to charge. So, as explained here today, they are charging for the parcels that have homes on it only.
And that's their discretion?
It is.
Okay. All right, then I won't weigh in on that. I have my opinions on bare land, that last fire call I was at, the fire department never stands by and lets bare land burn. They still put it out. So there is some value of some sort, whether it's woods, field, or otherwise, but, okay, thanks. And as far as, separation with sheriff services or road, fire department is a separate entity and not a Wright County umbrella that falls underneath Wright County.
Correct.
It's the fire department's separate charges, and like sheriff and highway, that falls under our regular budget and taxing.
Yes, but there's also, most of our assessments for roads are from the cities, and the cities do those roads. So there's separate entities that we're doing these parcel assessments for. We're not assessing for the sheriff's services. We're not assessing for any of those. We're assessing for it, like my neighborhood, it's getting a new road reconstructed. I am getting a parcel assessment. I am paying $2.15 on top of the actual cost of the work to be done, so that I am quantifying the staff time that it is to go through and do the 200 homes that are being assessed for this reconstruction of the roads. That's all we're talking about, is the $2.15 per parcel to pay for the taxpayer services specialists that are actually having to go in there and manually manipulate 40 property tax statement as it is for one that has $1 million home, whether it has a $100,000 home. It's the same $2.15 is the time for manipulation to do the labor.
Okay, thank you.
Hire our own private assessor, and we just hired a new one. Why did we get charged, or is that all assessors that are private assessors, $400 before he could even get in an office to do any work there? We got charged that. Does anybody know why we got charged?
Well, it could be that was maybe for his,
Madam Chair, but I don't
equipment
think we
and that
should
kind of thing, but
speculate. At
yeah.
this point, without, I guess I haven't seen the letter. I would, without having seen the letter, any details of it, and it being not
Debbie, you-
on the agenda, not being on the agenda and not having the letter, I can't articulate to it. If you
Yeah.
want, if you can send me an email with that letter, I can do some investigating into where it came from. I don't know if it came.
You got something, Debbie?
we don't have the assessor here to answer that question, but
Madam Chair, if you want, I can answer your question. Apparently with our new assessor, there was some licensing fees, things that he had to get done, and I'm there again, it may be a pass-through thing where he had to pay Wright County and Wright County had to pay state of Minnesota for, to get these licensures. And he does, our private assessor does Corona Township as well, and I think they were charged also for their, I think the fee was like $800, and he split divided it between the two townships.
yeah. Thanks, Bob.
Bob, I appreciate the insight on that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Moving on to our items for consideration, and we have broadband, Commissioner Vetch. Since Commissioner Lyden isn't here, so you get to do both minutes from you two committees.
So broadband met last week on the 25th. Just a quick overview. Discussed the RFIs for fixed wireless and the traditional fiber in the ground. At this time, the fixed wireless just wasn't cost effective to move forward based on the RFIs that we got. And then the fiber, there's a lot going out there and kind of holding off on the traditional fiber because the border-to-border grants came out. And with that, there's been a flood, as you can see on today's agenda, for requests for letters of recommendation. We also moved forward with our City of Buffalo request that was held off due to waiting for some granting clarifications with road right-of-way and such. So the recommendations was to pause the evaluations until the border-to-border broadband development grants are awarded, and then approve the grant for the Buffalo to Buffalo fiber, and then we write letters of support to offer local contributions of 1% and $100 passing to agencies that are applying to the border-to-border grants, as it is looked highly upon when there is a local match when applying to border-to-border grants. So that was our contribution recommendation for that. With that, Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes and the recommendation from the July 25th.
Motion made by Commissioner Vetch. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Wetter. Any discussion or questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner
I
Wetter?
have a question. You talked about the wireless, the towers versus the fiber. About how much more does it cost to have the tower? You know, percentage-wise, you know, I'm not,
So to get the utilization that we would need from the towers, we were gonna have to run because the towers, in order to operate, need fiber, and we were gonna have to run an extensive amount of fiber out to these areas to be able to get the towers in locations that it could get utilization. So we would have been in upwards of $10 million to cover an area that the parcel hookups are the number of properties being utilized to the cost of $10 million. It just wasn't in our best interest at this time, especially now that there's a border-to-border grants are out there and they are looking to do the same thing in their area, but they're looking to fund it. So when we're more in the, let's hold off and see what the state funds for these areas first, and then we'll circle back, because there might be fiber that we could tap into at a later time
that's
to
what
get
I
those
was gonna
towers.
ask. So you could probably take and tap into something that was in the ground already eventually?
That's a possibility. Yep.
Okay.
So there might be more interest post border-to-border grants in doing some sort of fixed wireless at a later date. So at this point, we're holding off.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes and recommendation are approved. Personnel Committee, Employee Relations, Commissioner Vetch.
So last week on the 27th, we had a personnel committee discussing the future of taxpayer services and the elections in the organizational structure within the county. It just by default has always been the former auditor's treasurer's office, now finance, has kind of been the collect all of these services over time. And we're just having open discussions about what the future of elections, finance, and taxpayer services, and whether it makes sense for it to maintain in its current existence, or if there needs to be some modifications, or if it's a baby steps to modifications over a period of time. Largely, this comes around the fact that we have some openings in our upper side of our property tax administration, and a lot of times when you have leadership roles open is when you have the opportunity to have discussions about changes in your organization. So with that, we've had I think there's upwards of 10, 11 different organizational charts. I know myself and Commissioner Catchmark have spent a great deal of hours discussing the ins and outs of the matter. I think we agree that there's the need to develop a proper tax administrator role, and I would encourage staff to continue that aspect as a recommendation, because I think the sooner we can get something posted, because we do need that position within the county, whether that's the exact title at this point and what the exact roles are onto it. I'd like to have some fluidity so staff can be nimble to, once we come down to that point, to be able to get that position posted. But as far as where it lives, I'm going to leave it open to a to be determined, and come at a later date with maybe a personnel committee of the whole for staff to present options going forward. At this point, I would just encourage to let staff be able to work on a job description for some sort of a property tax, I'm going to say question mark.
So Commissioner Vetch, you're approving the minutes and that recommendation?
Yeah, that recommendation,
That's,
yeah, we're not, property
Well,
tax
we're not talking- yeah.
fluidity. Yep, I want it fluid in what that title is, because there's still a lot of discussions. I think I want them to be able to get a feel to what the market is out there for this position. So the sooner we can get something posted to it, we can get a feel as to whether there's options to hire this position. It's a very difficult position to hire in today's market. It's a very niche-y work.
all right, so Is that your motion?
That would be my motion, to approve the minutes and that recommendation of developing a job description for some sort of a property tax worker. That I'll leave it to staff as we have more discussions in trying to delineate that position.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Or motion, do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
And for discussion, going through all the information and the charts and the orange, blue, and pink and information that I've gathered since, I really think that we need to have a personnel committee of the whole. I think all 5 commissioners need to be at the table with their staff and administration and really, examine everything, because this is a big decision for 2 commissioners to, make this recommendation as far as the charts and that kind of thing. So if
Yes.
everyone's in agreement with that, but that's a different thing, but I just wanted to add that before we vote, in
Madam
case
Chair-
other ones had.
Madam Chair, I would agree with what you said, and I'd like to see those pink and orange and blue
Yeah,
charts and what had, if they could forward that to us ahead of time, so I could see what all that was, I would appreciate that, because after getting many emails from staff in those departments, you kind of wonder what's being talked about, these charts
Yep.
that we aren't aware of.
any other, pardon?
I was going to say, Madam Chair, if I could, certainly we can send over, I think we have explored quite a few options on this in coming forward with our recommendations that came towards the Personnel Committee. That day, we had talked about 3 of the options. However, we at one point were at more. That's really driven us down to what's our final recommendation. So to Commissioner Hewsom's point, I think that may be appropriate to discuss. I would recommend, since next Wednesday would be our committee day normally, that perhaps we leverage that for the committee of the whole. And we could discuss this item at that time, if that would work.
All right, let's,
Madam Chair?
oh, yes.
More on discussion, I appreciate Commissioner Vetch going along with kind of a loosely written recommendation for research on developing the position, and I think there is opportunity for taking another look. It's a management level position. I'm in favor of combining roles if possible. For example, the land recorder administrator and property tax administrator. I want to make sure that we have adequate number of staff being supervised by management, because there's been some thought and philosophy in the past with finance taxpayer elections that there's a lot of management, a lot of 6-figure salaries, and it's a good opportunity to make sure that everything aligns. And I've had a lot of conversations with staff, emails from staff, spoke to constituents about it. So I want to go forward and make sure that people's pay grade is appropriate. If there's added responsibilities, that goes that way. If there's less and delegation, then it can go the other way too.
And that's discussion that we can have at our
Yep.
personnel committee of the whole, so,
Madam Chair,
yes.
wholeheartedly agree that we need a committee of the whole on this, because I will say, sitting through that quite lengthy personnel committee, this is a very complex subject. I do have concern, though, with trying to meet as a committee of the whole by next Wednesday, that will we have fleshed out enough information to make it even fruitful? That's my only concern, just knowing Mike, we spent a good chunk of the afternoon together yesterday, and I think there's a lot more digging that needs to take place. I'm afraid if we're gonna sit in a room. I guess I'm looking to administration. Do you feel that between now and next Wednesday, the 10th, that you will be able to come forward with a strong recommendation by then? If not, I would rather see us push it out another week, because I don't want to meet and have the same conversation that we had in the personnel committee.
Commissioner Resch, why don't we just vote on the minutes and the recommendation, and then we'll talk about that. Okay? If there's no more discussion, all in favor? Aye. All right. All right, now, if we'd like to look at dates for,
So So Administrator Kelly, I guess defer to you and your staff on whether you feel by the 10th they are going to be in a position to have a strong recommendation. If not, I mean, another week out.
Yeah, I think a week out would be more than fine.
So you think the
That's
10th is
certainly-
good? The 17th?
I would look at the week of the 15th through the 19th.
Okay, that's what I was saying,
would
by
be
next Wednesday, that's
just
gonna
looking
be-
at everybody's calendars
Yeah.
too, it's, next week is pretty hectic. It might be best just to move it out a week, just to be on the safe side. That'll give a little more time just for everybody as well. So with that, I don't know if the board would look at a meeting following the 16th board meeting or look at that Wednesday. I think several options would work, at least from our standpoint.
Or even after the EDA meeting on the 15th, we'll all be here.
Could all work.
Yeah,
That works.
That works.
then let's go with
10 o'clock on
10 o'clock on the 15th.
15th.
Sounds good. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to set a committee of the whole on August 15th at 10 a.m.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Wetter. No more discussion. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to project administration.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners. This actually relates back to the recommendations that the Broadband Committee made. That was just approved. It's just getting official approval on two items. The grant agreement for the city of Buffalo to provide access to homes just north of here, actually, and then signing letters of support for 7 border-to-border grant applications, including the addition of matching funds from the county. I'd like to point out those funds would come from our ARP allocation, so they wouldn't be county dollars specifically.
All right, so item number 1, is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Madam Chair.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Vetch, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ketchmark. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's approved. Then approve the funding commitments from the county using ARP funds, and we had that list also.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the funding
All
from the
right.
county using ERP funds.
Motion made by Commissioner Ketchmark, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Vetch. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we have signed the letters of support for the state border-to-border grant applications, and we have 7 of them.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to sign letters of support for the border-to-border grant applications for the 7 listed.
All right,
I'll second.
motion made by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Wetter. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is approved. Thanks, Elizabeth. Lots of work you've been taking on. For sure. All right. Moving on to administration, our topics for discussion.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Listed on your agenda here was 5 items to include at the Tuesday, August 9th workshop. I would like to also bring forward 2 other items. We had discussion a while back at a board meeting regarding the reclassification process and the desire to discuss that at the August workshop. Additionally, discussion with staff regarding the solid waste ordinance. Would like to add that for discussion as well. So with that, I would submit the 5 that were listed plus those 2 additional for the workshop next week. And any other items you may wish to add, I think that will certainly give us a full agenda.
That will,
We'll have to prioritize as we may run out of time on some, so.
sound good? Is there a motion to approve those items to the workshop?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, to approve the topics for discussion for County Board Workshop, August 9th.
Is that a second
And I'll
from you?
second.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Ketchmark, seconded by Commissioner Wetter. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those items are approved. Moving on to Advisory Committee, Advisory Board updates. Administrator Kelly, would you like to start, or?
Yes, just a couple things, logistically reminders. There's been a number of activities that have come out Recently from AMC, just a reminder of their Fall Policy Conference, which is in September. If board members are interested in attending, please let us know at administration and we can get you signed up for that. The dates of that are the 14th through the 16th of September. Additionally, around that same time, MCIT is having a Navigating Land Use seminar. If you're interested in that, similarly, that is on the 14th. Staying in the MCIT vein, we did receive notification from MCIT of a special distribution of funds. As an overall, they had a good return from the Workers' Comp Reinsurance Association this year. So they've given us a allocation back of $281,000, almost $282,000. Should also note this is separate from their annual dividend. So we will be expecting that also in August. Nice news to receive that was a bit unexpected, just due to our good results statewide in that area. And lastly, just a reminder, the All Safe Schools meeting is next week in the afternoon of Wednesday. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Ketchmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, County Fair Board met, just a summary, and there's lengthy reports for those that want to see them. There'll be more complete reports to follow, but the dollars were up. The attendance was down a little bit, but it was a very successful fair and a good positive event for Wright County. Other than that, just assorted meetings with constituents throughout the week, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. So the Midwest Regional Forensic Lab meeting was last week, advisory committee, excuse me. Some updates, the staffing update, they're fully staffed, and that's for the first time since last year at this time. And number of, well, one scientist, the latent print scientist, just got signed off to do the work. They had 2 interns over the summer. The casework is down a bit from 2021, but they feel it will even out by the end of the year. They have good turnaround times, and they're, yes, some are up a bit and some are down a bit. We had quite the discussion on the marijuana law that was kind of slipped into the omnibus bill, and it's very difficult to regulate, and they can't, as a lab, really do testing on gummies. So when they come in, when people are making these batches of gummies, I mean, you might have a high amount of THC in one part of it and a low amount in another. So depending on how the batch is, it's just not really possible to do those testing appropriately. We did pass our budget. It's actually less than 1% increase. However, Wright County's is up like 6.84 because of our population. You know, it's based on population and usage, and Wright County is up a bit. So I'll give you those numbers, Administrator Kelly, and otherwise it's always a good discussion to go there and to see. I mean, just how they are one of the top labs in the country, and they continue to just excel in what they do, and we're fortunate to be part of it. So we can't get everything tested through the BCA, of course. So they don't do like latent prints and that sort of thing on vehicles. So there's been a lot of crimes that have been solved because we're able to do them with our lab. And that's about it.
So, over the last week was up in Fergus Falls for the energy transition. Very, very good meeting up there. We did tour the Otter Tail Power's coal plant that is in the process of demolition. We got to see their 3 different hydro plants up there, and then the solar field that will be utilizing part of the impacted space from the coal. We had a presentation from Jesse Heyer from the Midwest Governors Association in the Mid-Grid 2035 plan. We also had Rick Evans from Excel Energy who presented to some of their programs that Excel Energy that they have for economic development. And then the Department of Revenue presented the ins and outs of state assessed property and what taxes they pay and which one and how they are paid differently from the different entities, whether it's wind, solar, coal, nuclear. And then we're moving forward, we're gonna have some discussion on RDA funds. So that'll be coming forward as well. Otherwise, CMRP met last week. We're doing things that we need to enter into a Tier 1 Pell. So that is kind of the parallel methods that you can go to for a new river crossing. You can either go into the NEPA process or you can go into a Tier 1 Pell. If you do a Tier 1 Pell, it gives you a little bit more options than if you go into the NEPA process. So I think we're at this point, we are leaning towards a Tier 1 Pell, but we're also, prior to doing that, we are doing our purpose and needs requirements that we have to do first. So we are putting an RFP out for the purpose and needs for a consultant to get that documentation done so we can enter into the Tier 1 Pell process. Outside of that, I guess I'll leave it that to pass it on.
Commissioner Wetter.
Okay, on Wednesday, I attended an open house in St. Michael on County Road 35. They're proposing to go with 4 lanes from Jameson to where the road splits to the one-ways, and that's St. Michael Parkway. They're proposing 3 roundabouts and possibly 1 more, and a trail. And that construction will be from May to October next year. So that'll be interesting in that area. Right now, St. Michael is getting torn up also, so it's quite an interesting area. And then Thursday was the Central Minnesota Council on Aging. That was a Zoom call. And we looked at the operating budget and approved some transfers for 2023. And mostly in the nutrition area, since COVID, they found that the congregate dining they didn't need as much money in there. The home-delivered meals was more important, and so they transferred some of the money from the congregate to the home-delivered meals, because that's being used quite a bit right now. Also, some of the Title III funds also got transferred to senior linkage, which is quite popular right now. Besides which, I guess the state is also giving senior linkage $100,000, so I thought that was interesting also. So their operating budget is an increase in revenue and expenses of 2.2%. And also they're putting more money towards program development and coordination. Also, I'd like to point out Saturday is Hanover Harvest Festival, and so there will be a parade and many activities on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. And on a personal note, I got to experience the Air Force graduation from basic military training, and it's very impressive. I mean, it was in Lackland. It was very hot and humid. And I didn't melt, I thought I would, but I didn't. And just to see over 660, recruits and go in and, they're all marching and they did an airman's run and then they did a coin ceremony. It was a 2-day event, and then they did their parade. But to see those 16, what they call flights, all lined up, and it was very touching. And to think that every week they put out, they have like over 600 new airmen every week. They're graduating like 32,000 a year, so that's pretty cool. And then they all go off to their next assignment to another base for learning their training. So anyway, it was a very cool experience. Anyway, and that's all I have. So if there's nothing else that needs to come before the board, we're adjourned at 9:50.